Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the HPLS podcast. And today I've got somebody that's becoming a good friend of mine in the online world, Andy Solomon. Andy, really, we connected on LinkedIn and we started talking about sales strategies. Andy's a sales trainer as well. So I think today's episode is going to give all of you salespeople a lot of really backdoor insight into the sales world, the sales mentality. And especially now as this podcast is going to drop on the 18th of December, we're heading to the end of the new year. There's some cleanup to happen. If you were able to watch the HPLS monthly yesterday, we talked a lot about that. And I have a feeling this podcast is really going to dovetail that HPLS episode. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Andy Solomon. Andy, welcome, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan. Appreciate it.
So Andy, before we even get into anything, just take us back. Give us kind of the background as to where you came from to allow all the listeners to kind of get a good look and feel and some context of who you are and what you can offer.
Yeah, so I think, just like everybody kind of in sales, they kind of got to start early in my career, just doing different types of things, different telemarketing jobs. Ended up getting into being a loan officer and doing mortgages, getting into the mortgage industry, which was very lucrative until about 2007 when the housing industry kind of crashed here in the U.S. So, that industry kind of sunk and took a little bit of a tank. So I got into the home improvement industry and started working for a retail company, a remodeling company. And I was actually hired as a marketing manager, managing a outside sales team that was generating appointments and such in mall locations. And kind of as a part-time to that career, I got into in-home selling. And I did that for about 7 years between working my way up from an outside marketing manager to assistant marketing manager to running that marketing department and also doing in-home sales. And then in about 2014, wanted to have a family and that kind of thing. So I transitioned into wholesale distribution sales in the building industry. So I started working for a manufacturer that we were working for. And I was a territory sales manager for about 4 years in that role. Experienced a lot of success, was doing some things differently that the company appreciated and saw and thought that I would be able to bring that experience into the director of sales training role with Associated Materials. And I started that role in the beginning of 2019, and I've been a year in that role. So.
Beautiful. Yeah. So, obviously today's going to be, I've really been looking forward to this. We actually had to reschedule this recording. I had a little bit of a puppy issue in the morning. But yesterday I do a live event every month, and yesterday it was all about actually you could probably see in the background here my studio that I tore down that I haven't quite put away yet because I've had so much to do. We were talking about that when I was talking about the next level of training that I want to get to. Yeah. When it comes to now where we sit, literally, 12, 13 days away from the end of the decade, and not only end of the year, end of the decade. What would you share with some salespeople out there? Maybe some core strategies, some key concepts, some key ideas that you're going to share to your sales team and help your sales team accomplish to really start the new year on the right path.
Yeah, I think a real key to being successful in sales is your mindset and just kind of having an always on mentality. So, closing the year strong is really key. And if you've developed really good behaviors and really good, habits as far as prospecting and, searching for new business and bringing on new customers and serving your customers, if you have a good approach to that and you carry that through, then you can just, key in on that towards the end of the year and make sure you close out strong. Enjoy a little bit of time off with your family, of course, in the holidays, but really make sure that, and it's kind of a little bit, late now because next week is the holidays here. So everybody's kind of going to shut it down for that last 2-week period. But leading up to this point, if you're really hitting it hard and getting out there and taking advantage of some downtime and scheduling more appointments, getting in front of more people, getting yourself ready to walk into 2020 with a good book of business kind of anticipating and ready for you to come in and see them, I think is really key.
One thing that, you and I have had some digital conversations about is this idea between a job and a career. A lot of the concepts you just shared, coming into 2020 strong, really creating those habits in essence, because really, in my opinion, and by all means, love your thoughts on it. All of this, most salespeople, any salesperson, they get to a point and they start coasting a little bit, right? And it's those high performance habits, those high performance drive that helps us create those habits to keep selling in that market. However, there's a difference between having a career and having a job. And what do you see from salespeople that you train? Do you see a point where it starts as a job and then it transitions to a career? Do you see a lot of salespeople coming in and saying, this is going to be my career? Do you see a lot of salespeople coming in and saying, this is going to be my career, and then realizing that sales, it's a different beast, right? You got to have the backbone for it. You got to have the drive. You got to have the, that desire to serve the client and produce outcomes for them above and beyond the money. What do you see from the general market from 2019?
Yeah, I really believe that, the high performers are people who are just intrinsically motivated. They just have a natural kind of internal motivation and desire to succeed. And, not only do they have that desire, but they have the dedication and the commitment to do the things that are necessary to see that desire, through to fruition. So, it's one thing to desire success. It's another thing to put in the work to achieve it. And it's those people who are intrinsically motivated, who have that internal burn, internal desire to succeed, and then are committed and dedicated to actually going out and doing the things they need to do that actually can achieve it. And, you can have a certain level of success in sales without, being, without viewing it as a career. You can view it as a job, and you can have a certain level of success. But if you really want to realize uncapped potential, then you really want to view it as a career. And that only really happens when you actually kind of love what it is that you're doing. And it just kind of is who you are. It's not something that you're doing. It's just like kind of who you're being as far as, a salesperson. And I think the ones that don't experience as much success are the ones that don't have, they're almost forcing it to a sense. Sales can be uncomfortable when you're living in kind of a manipulative kind of mindset. And I don't want to say manipulative because that's kind of a strong word, but when you are going into a sales relationship with somebody, and you're naturally wanting to help them, and you want to take them from where they are today, which is their current state, to their ideal state, and you want to be the person of value that helps them get there, and you genuinely care about their business, and you're going into it with the feeling that, I want to help this person. I have a solution that's of value. I know it can help them. And we're going to just kick this off on just a good foundation of customer mentality, and putting that customer first before you. When you go into it with that mindset, I think that, it's easy to enjoy and like your job because you feel good about what you're doing. You feel good about the relationships that you have. But when you're going into it, like, I just want to close this person, I just want to sell something today, you don't have that really good natural mindset of feeling good about what you're doing and feeling good about your approach. So I think that that's where the ones who experience the most success are the ones that approach it with the right mindset, love what they do, feel good about the products that they're selling, feel good about the customers that they're helping, feel good about the relationships that they're starting, and they just kind of live within that motivation and that inspiration.
Okay, so let's play here for a second, because I love that. I think that for everyone listening is key. What Andy just said. I'm gonna add to
make
it.
Everybody dizzy with that.
Yeah, no. But I'm gonna add to it because I love that. That, one thing that I've always said is you have to really believe in what you sell in order to really make a difference. And when I talk about a difference, to create that life for your family, to create that life for yourself, to create, to really achieve that greatness that you desire as an individual inside. I'll add to that, and let's play back and forth here, because I think this is important. For all of you out there that might be sitting there saying, yeah, it's great, Andy, but how do I really dig in and start loving what I do? How do I know the solutions that I can provide? How do I know I could be that value person to everybody? Everybody talks about value. I would say, and by all means, Andy, correct me if you have a different thought here, but for all of you that don't really know, call some of your customers that you have and find out why they buy. Ask them the questions. What is it that I do different than the other 9 salespeople that have called you for the last 6 months trying to get your business? Some of these key strategies and techniques that your customers, the reason they bought, you can utilize that and kind of use that as your, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of reference when you're going forward and selling. Because each of us, Andy, you have a set of tools that help all of your salespeople accomplish what they need to accomplish. I have a set of tools. By amalgamating our tools and having these types of conversations, you're going to walk away with new tools. I'm going to walk away with new strategies and tools as well. And it helps us grow. So for all you salespeople watching, really start digging into your business. Analyze your present business. If you're brand new in the industry, what would you want if you were having a challenge at a shipper, or if you were having a challenge with whatever your product or service solves? What would you want? And start there. And then, again, Andy, jump in anytime, but I'm thinking, at that point you start selling with those kind of strategies, and eventually you find all the pieces that fit the Tetris puzzle, right?
Yeah. It's, love what you do, right? And be passionate about what you do is, I don't know how to really describe that, but not everybody, is selling, not everybody is selling this amazing product. There's people that have to sell waste services. There are people that have to sell custodial services. There's people that have to sell, pens and pencils. So, it's not really, of course you have to love the product, and you have to believe in the product, and you have to believe in the company and the company's why. And hopefully you align to that. But I think that, I always say, we're not always lucky enough to do what we're passionate about. Like, I was in a band for several years, and I wanted to be, a lead singer in a band. And that was where my passions were. And now I'm a director of sales training. I'm passionate about sales training. I'm in the building industry, but I didn't see my, path going into the building industry when I was, coming up. I had different aspirations, right? People want to be firemen and policemen and all this different stuff. So the point I'm trying to get to is, it's not really, it's being passionate in how you approach what it is that you do, and being passionate about the value that you bring. So if I am, selling transportation services, right, it's what is the value that I can bring to my customer that I can be passionate about? What is my differentiation? Who am I as a person? And what can I do to really separate myself from everybody else that I'm obviously selling against, but also to, as you said, sell to your customers, why? Why are they in business? What drives them? What motivates them? And how can I align my solution to where they want to be and see themselves? So when you get into a discussion with, a customer, it's, hey, what are your goals? What are your dreams? Where do you see your company 5 years from now? Where you are today? And how can I help you get from here to there? And how can my solutions that I'm selling be a part of that journey that you're on? And if I'm not part of that journey right now, then what can I do as far as a person and the relationship that I can bring to help you get there? Maybe I have some people that I can refer you to, or somebody else that I've met on LinkedIn who's in an industry that I know that can maybe help you on your journey, and I can understand where you want to be, and I can help you get there, so that maybe 2 years from now, we have that relationship. If you know Dale Dupree, he talks about the living pipeline. We have people that we're networking and working with that we can help and be a solution and a value to. We might not be selling our product now, but maybe it's a little bit down the road. But where our value and our differentiation, that passion, is where we are being that person of value to our customers.
That's interesting. I like where you said be passionate about the services you bring.
Yeah.
Because I really like that, actually, because I always say, you have to love what you're selling. You have to love your product or service. And And some people, they aren't. Some people, they don't love a certain part of their product or service, but they are passionate about another part of it. You know, it's interesting where you see, you know, you focus on those passions instead of something else. I like that. I really like that. You know, so I want to talk to you about cost. I want to talk to you about pricing, right? You hear a lot of salespeople come out and say, you know, especially in transportation. I mean, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the transportation market, Andy. I'll kind of give you the lowdown. 2018 was what we call the really hard market, right? There was kind of like 9 orders to 1 truck. So 9 people had to try and buy this 1 truck to get their freight to market, right? It was kind of what they call the shipper bloodbath, right? You know, costs skyrocketed for a lot of shippers. Fast forward to 2019, it became a very soft market. You know, in 2019, we had more closures in the transportation market than ever in history of recorded times in transportation. There's over 700 companies gone out of business in this year just in transportation. Now, that's leaving a lot of, you know, speculation for 2020 when it comes to capacity. But what happened is the ones that were there needed freight for their trucks. So everybody started dropping the prices. You know, brokers were a big part of it because they would have a load from their customer and they'd hold out until the lowest price won. What do you say to salespeople that come to you and say, you know what, Eddie, I just can't make it work, Andy. You know, everybody's so much cheaper than we are.
Yeah, that there's a lot that's involved there. First, I don't ever believe that you sell on price. Selling on price.
I'm really glad you said that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, selling on price, especially even in our industry, is only going to, you know, continue driving profits down, and which is going to make it hard for companies to be able to provide things like a better overall customer experience for their customers, which is really the key and the differentiator. So a big key, first off, is you have to be providing a genuine and really good customer experience. You can't just say that you're going to, you know, you can't just say that you're going to provide something. Your company actually has to help you back that up with a really good customer experience. And part of that company's ability to be able to do that is you being able to charge the right type of price that's going to keep the company profitable and being able to invest back into itself. So it's kind of this cycle here. And if you're out there just selling on price and driving those profits down, not only are you leaving yourself open for your competition to just come in and basically just giving them an easy out by just being able to offer a lower price than what you have, and you're not really backing that up with any value, which is worth paying more for. And, you know, there's a couple ways that you can do that. One is hopefully that, you know, your company is providing a good customer experience. And in your industry, maybe that's a different type of technology that's tracking shipments and deliveries. And, you know, in our industry, I know that when we deliver something, we have a software, we take a picture of something that was delivered. Our customer's able to see that delivery took place and they're able to see the images, and we're able to track where the truck is in the route. And these different types of softwares that, provide a good overall customer experience, everywhere from calling to your company and being greeted with the right attitude on the phone, to billing, all the way through the line. That overall customer experience, when they have a good one, it's worth paying more for. Now, let's say that you work for a company that doesn't have the greatest overall customer experience, right? You aren't leading the industry. There's other competition out there that have better technology, better overall, different types of things. And you're a seller for a company that's trying to compete with that. That's where your value as an individual and your ability to be the person that can be counted on to help them. So, hey, Andy, you know what? We had a shipment that went out. It was late and I'm really frustrated about it. Then your response to that and how you respond to that and how you're able to be that person they can count on and depend on to help them have a good experience, even when your company is struggling with some areas, is going to be a part that will keep them and help them be loyal to you. And that's worth spending a little bit more for. And if you don't have any of that, if your company isn't providing a good customer experience and you as a sales rep aren't providing a good experience as a sales rep, then the only thing you really have left to sell on is price. And I think that's where a lot of guys unfortunately find themselves at.
I agree with you. I also have seen a lot, and shit. And I'd love, again, obviously we're on the call, so I want your thoughts on it. I keep saying that, so I'm sorry. Where I often tell people, okay, so if you're going to sell price, if this is your game plan to become a pro, and you're going to sell price, and you have a customer that's dealing with you for a couple of months, typically the ones that are all about price are the ones that chew up 80% of your time and give you 20% of your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all day long, right?
Yeah.
And in the end, you're going to lose that customer to somebody else who had a cheaper price. Mm-hmm. So when I often go back to, and I forget what song it was from Kid Rock, where he says, I wanted this life, so I have to deal with the shit. In essence is what he's saying. So if you're going to choose to sell on price, and if you're going to choose to build your business and your foundation on sand because you're dealing in price, then when you lose a customer, you can't be pissed off. You have no right to argue, complain, call a customer an asshole. You got no right to any of it because you chose to deal with somebody that was specifically focused on price. And I'll go above that because I know a lot of salespeople that are watching this are probably going, yeah, but, because there's always that yeah, but person, right? If you qualify properly, and love your thoughts on this, Andy, if you qualify properly, yes, you might have to make twice as many calls. It might take you a little longer, but there's people out there that don't buy price. For all you salespeople that think, no, they buy price, I'm going to suggest you buckle down, you work a little harder, and you qualify customers better. What are your thoughts on that, Andy?
Yeah, I was just had some thoughts on this. I was thinking about, how we're always talking about, in sales, if you're on LinkedIn or you hear a lot of the different people talking, it's, always be selfless and be out there giving of yourself. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that, but I also think as salespeople, we do need to be a little bit selfish with our time and with our opportunities as well. So the fact that we are picking the right opportunities to put ourselves into that are going to help deliver on our overall success, we have to be selfish in that mindset as far as spending our time with the right opportunities that are going to help us grow our business and our own personal success. So you're absolutely right. If you sell on price, if that person's going to haggle on you on a couple pennies, they're going to haggle on you with service, delivery, and everything else. And you're going to spend a lot of time, servicing that customer. So you're going to be bringing a whole lot of forced value to that customer for not a whole lot of profit for you and your company. So just making sure that you bring the value that's worth paying more for, and then making sure you find the right customers who are willing to pay more for that value. I think it's going to set you up for long-term success because you're going to have more time, less stress to focus on the activities of prospecting. Because we were talking about how can you set yourself up for success in the next year, and you have to have time. You have to make time for prospecting, but you have to have time for prospecting. So, one of the things we had talked about before was like doubling down on your efforts in slow times. And I think when you have the right mindset and you have the right habits of prospecting and searching for business, and you're putting yourself in the right opportunity when times are slow, you naturally are going to double down because you're just going to have more time to do those things that you already have built into your personal makeup and your mindset. So I think all that combined together will set you up for a better overall success.
I really like when you said, in the end, those customers that don't haggle on price and just you set up a solution, you set up a service, it actually frees you up to have more time. And I'm going to challenge every salesperson watching this right now, because what Andy just said there was absolutely key, because these people that haggle you on price, haggle you on service, haggle you on invoicing, haggle you on payments, haggle you on everything. In the end, you might think to yourself, well, I got a customer pretty quick and this is juicy, this is great. But in the end, Andy, is it not true? The amount of time you use up with these people that they just burn your time. I mean, when you said, you really have to pay attention to the opportunities you're using your time on. look at those revenue drivers. Look at those big needle movers in your business. What are they? Schedule them out and have them working for you, not against you. Am I right, Andy?
Yeah. And you don't, it's hard to think holistically about the big picture, about the success of your customer, you, and your company and the people within your company, and thinking about your role that you have within that. And if you read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, he talks about discovering, obviously your company has a why, you have a why, and your customers have a why. And it's finding the customers that align to your why and your company's why. And when there's a good synergy there, that's going to help everyone. Because if you bring a customer on board who's going to be a pain in the ass, who's going to haggle on price, who's going to haggle on everything, is going to be sucking up your time, they're not only going to suck up your time, they're going to be a bad influence and sucking up the time of your inside customer service and your salespeople and your inside salespeople, and they're going to be putting those people in a bad mood, right? So when you bring on a bunch of these customers, now all of a sudden you're making it hard for the people that are supporting you to enjoy their job, because you're bringing all these like bad personalities into the flux, and then because their attitude's getting worse, now they can't provide a really good overall customer experience for the guys who actually can or are willing to pay more, who are actually a good customer to have. So there's this really holistic view that everyone needs to be aligned to and on board that can really help deliver a good overall customer experience.
I'm really glad you went there, because that was next on my list. These customers come in, and for those in our world, it's cost versus charge, right? So as in the world of brokerage, you sit there and you say, okay, I'm going to charge you $1,200 and I'm going to pay $1,100 for the truck to make it happen, right? So my profit's $100, and I've already been geared down on the price because the customers haggled. Now we're making $100. So all you salespeople out there, you made $100 on the shipment, but then they haggle on the service. Uses up more of your customer service team's time. Then they don't pay for 60 days. And then my question comes back to you, all you salespeople out there: did you really make any money? Right. And that's the holistic view as well, that I believe every single salesperson has to have an understanding of. As a company, for all of you out there that run companies, your salespeople need to understand what it means by profit. Because to a salesperson, if they make $50 profit, that's a profit to them. But what does that $50 really do to your company? You as a company, and Andy, you as a sales trainer with your sales team, would you not rather them hold out for an extra month and get a customer where they're making $200-300 an order, or get a customer this month that's making $50 order that in the end is going to chew up, like we were talking about, that 80% of your time, increase everything your customer service team is capable of, which then decreases the service to other customers, right? So I love that whole holistic view that you take on it. Salespeople, listen to that. That's critical. That holistic view is what everything is about. You can't just have, racing blinders on like a racehorse and just see what's in front of you. You have to really understand what components of the company make up the entire bubble that your customer is a part of. Back, I guess, 30 minutes ago, we started it with, invoicing, where you were talking about that customer experience needs to go all the way through to invoicing.
Yeah.
In our business, as I'm sure in your business, there's accessorial charges and things that happen, and trucks waiting time and all this. You'd be surprised at how many customers get invoiced without even being told there's waiting time. And then they look at it and they go, well, hold on here, you said my cost was $1,000, now it's coming at $1,200. Nobody's ever notified me of it. You just expect me to pay it, right? That's in my opinion, that's a lack of servicing the client, because they need to understand the cost just as much as you need to understand how to make profit. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big key to it is, and that's kind of where part of your value comes in, as well as helping them understand and see the value and the worth of spending a little bit additional for your service, and why it's worth it to do so. If you can really put in the work to build up that, you talk about a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset. And we're talking about, if you bring on a whole lot of low profit customers because of the volume, you're spreading and stretching your whole organization thin, which affects the overall experience that you have. So, in our industry, there's a truck, right? And that truck can be filled to capacity, and that truck can only do so much delivery. If you fill that truck with low profit, low margin services or products or whatever, and you're putting it out there, that truck is busy doing a whole lot of low profit work. And if you were to the volume might be there, but the fact that you're making everybody within your organization work double time to achieve that volume at that low profit is affecting you and your company's ability to deliver that customer experience that's worth paying a little bit more to those customers that might have half of that truck busy, but are paying a little bit more because they see the value in doing so. And that's going to then kind of alleviate and kind of take the pressure off of everybody so they can do things like deliver a better customer experience that's worth spending a little bit more on. So you really have to take a strategic view on how do I want to build out my customer base and how do I want this experience to be, and then sticking to your guns. Because if you have a scarcity mindset and you go into it and the customer's like, no, I'm not paying that. I want to pay this because I know I can get this. If you have an abundance mindset, then you know that there's another customer that's coming up next that might be that might be willing to pay a little bit extra for the value that you want to bring, because you're working to build that customer experience up. So if you own a company, this is really important to think about, because you have a lot of control over this. If you're a salesman within an organization, you only have so much control over this, but you can still affect your own territory and your own customer base by having, that mindset.
So let's talk strategy, because I really appreciate, everything you're saying is I'm resonating with it immensely. Let's talk strategy. Let's talk strategy for, sales, like we said before we started recording, sales is sales. It's a different product, it's a different service, but in essence, to develop that relationship, to cultivate it, to court your prospects, to have them trust you and know, because in any industry, when a customer decides to use you, for all you salespeople out there, it's a very visual choice, right? And we make I often refer it back to, infomercials in the middle of the night. You're up on a Friday night or on a Thursday night by yourself, and you see this infomercial for some trinket, and you're like, man, that would be pretty cool. Some of them are pretty cool. They're garbage, but they're pretty cool. And you're like, I'm going to get that. And you go and you get it. Same infomercial, different night, two of your buddies are there, and in your head you're going, wow, that's a pretty cool thing. And your buddy goes, oh my God, that is so stupid. Anyone who buys that would be a goof. You're realistically not pulling your wallet out right there and purchasing it. Let's call a spade, right? So in any industry, when you have a client that says, yes, I'm going to use you, that decision is them sitting with a bunch of their buddies on that couch, choosing that infomercial to buy it, choosing that product on that infomercial to buy it, which to me is an honor when somebody would do that and use my services over. Andy, just like your industry, people are banging on our customers' doors every day, and the salesperson that doesn't think that's happening is really in their own little foggy world, right? Like, let's call a spade. Let's be realistic, right? I love that abundance mindset, but also being clear on what you're up against and what obstacles are facing you. Because if we don't believe there's obstacles, the second we hit a speed bump, we're going to slow down. The second we hit that mountain, we're going to stop. And we're going to turn around and go the other way. So, kind of forget where I was going with all this, but
it goes back to mentality, right? It goes back to mentality. It goes back to having the right mental makeup to put priorities in line. If you are spending the right amount of time on prospecting and you're doing the things that allow you to have time to prospect, then you're going to have a nice and healthy pipeline. And when you have a nice and healthy pipeline, you're operating from a place of abundance because you have a lot of opportunity. You've given yourself a lot of opportunity. So you can be picky and choosy on who you do business with, and what payment or what price you're going to take, because you have a good healthy pipeline that you can continue to work. If you're not doing those things, if you're not putting that effort in, and it goes back to, again, is this a career or is this a job? If it's a job, you probably aren't doing or giving enough effort to prospecting, and don't have the right mentality that be operating from a place of abundance. And that's where it goes back to, if you are that person who views it as a career and loves what you do and is kind of just naturally, habitually in always on, like I said earlier, then you are operating from a place of abundance and you have more control over that. Now, if you don't, and you're operating from scarcity, that's when you're going to drop your price. That's when you're going to drop your pants. And that's when you're going to just get into this bad roller coaster. And, you're just kind of being controlled by your pipeline instead of controlling your pipeline. And the kind of, I kind of lost my track there as well.
No, you were on it. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, that happens. Sorry,
I was headed someplace and I just kind of lost it right there at the end. Yeah. I was gonna bring it all for us full circle, but we'll get it back.
Well, I'm sure it'll still come full circle. Yeah. We still got about 12 minutes till you got to get moving. So we talked about that when market dips, you double down and get more strategic. Let's focus on that strategic part, because I think that's a little bit of where you were going when, you strategically have something set up to prospect. You strategically look at, the things you're good at, the things you've been able to benefit or you've helped customers achieve, right? Because in the end, it's customer outcomes. In the end, everything we do, I believe, comes twofold. One is for customer outcomes and our lifestyle outcomes, right? That's really what we, as everyone who in the sales world, in the working world, I shouldn't say in the working world, because some people just don't even think of customer outcomes. They go in, they punch a clock and they leave, and it's irrelevant, right?
That's a job.
That's a job. Yeah. As a career, it's that customer outcome and lifestyle outcome. So if we were to look at both of these, what would be some strategic processes, some strategic frameworks you can share that you would suggest every salesperson put into place for 2020? And here's the caveat to that. All you salespeople out there, when we stay strategic and put into place, this isn't do it for half of January and expect results. This is long-term, right? High performance comes from achieving good results, great results over the long term, right? We can all have that. And Andy, I'm sure you've had salespeople as well, where you have that one hit, and it's kind of that one hit wonder song. The idea is to be the Beatles. The idea is to be, that album after album after album after album that goes platinum, right? To be the Dr. Dre of business, if you will, right?
So, if I was, we could go on to it could take a long time to get everything out, but to give some really good just thought heading into 2020, if you really want to be serious about making it a career, and it's about start with mindset, right? Start with mindset and start thinking about, how you are. Just separate work for a second. Take work and put it over here, and look at your home life and look at your personal life, and think about where you might have some work to be done there. Because if you can, make sure that is set up properly, if you focus on what is important in life, and you have good priorities around that, then you can start working in a more positive mindset. And then now you can carry that into your work, into your efforts. And, if you have a good positive mindset and you have a good outlook, and you're working from positivity, then that's going to come through in your work with your internal customers, the people that support you, and your external customers, which are the customers that you're trying to serve. So that's where I would start. I would really start with really trying to work on yourself. Now, that's reading some books or whatever you need to do on mindset. There's some really good ones out there that can help you do that. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from Stephen R. Covey is a great place to start. I would suggest that you read that book and start doing some of the things that are within that book that are going to help you live a good personal lifestyle that's going to help spill over into your working career. The other thing that I would say is that obviously you have to make time for prospecting. And I think that, a pit that all salespeople fall into is they fall into reactive mode, and they just react to their customers and everything that's going on, and they don't put enough time into actually prospecting and looking for new business. So if you were to, I forget the name of his book. What is it called? Yeah, that's it. Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt. If you read the book Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt, that right there will give you a really good framework around prospecting. And that's really the key to being able to operate from that abundance mindset that we were talking about. That's going to really kind of drive your pipeline. And then I had another one that I was going to say, oh yeah, okay. So I got my train of thought that I had lost before, which was, you're right. We are one solution coming into our customer's place of business, and we're competing against a lot of people who are coming into that place of business. So you really just need to sit down with a pen and paper one day and really just say, what makes me different? What makes my product different? What makes my company different than everybody else that's walking in that building? And really focus on your differentiators and what makes you different. And another book, now I have not read this book, but I've read some concepts on it, and I've heard Keenan speak a lot, is gap selling. And it's kind of, when you talk to your customer, what you want to ask them is simply, you want to find out their current state, and you want to find out their ideal state. Okay, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you see, what are your goals? Find out what your customers' goals are and what they're striving to become, where they see themselves in 5 years. You can ask them, well, what's holding you back from reaching those goals? And how can I be a part of helping you reach those goals? And when you understand how you can be that person of value that's going to help them get from where they are now to where they want to be, when you can fill that line with your value and differentiators, that's going to be what's going to keep your customer loyal to you, and not listening to all the other people that walk into the building. Another key to that too as well is you have to be a person that cares about your customers and cares about their business. And it's not just the only time that you ever reach out to them and talk to them is when you want something from them. It's, what can I help you with and what can I give you? I just had this happen to me last night. I went to a networking event, and there was a gentleman there that I haven't seen in a while. And we were talking, and I was like, hey, because I'm kind of doing something like you're doing right now, a video cast or a podcast, but I'm doing that internally just for our salespeople. And I was like, hey, I'd really like to have you come on the show and talk and share some value with my sales reps. But that's what I led with. I didn't lead with, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What can I do for you? What value can I bring to you? How can I be of service to you? And I reflected on that after I left, and I was like, you know what? I'm asking to receive something, and I didn't offer to give anything, and I didn't really feel good about that. So I think that that's a good place to start when you're going into that relationship or that prospect, is what can I bring to this person's business that's going to make a difference for them? And then in return, that will help you. Zig Ziglar says the term, if you help enough other people get what they want, then, or you can have all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. And when you operate from that mindset, success will come for you.
That's awesome, Andy. I know you got to get going. I'm kind of looking at some of the key points that you and I touched down, and I think we could probably go on for another 2 hours, you and I. You know what I mean? But
I'm sorry for the slow start. This is actually
that's okay. You know what? No, it was awesome, and we both lost our train of thought. It was great. No, man.
This is my first time ever being on somebody's podcast. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, you did a great job, my friend. It's all good. It's all good. So I mean, I guess the only other point, if you can, in kind of a minute, is that we didn't touch on that I'd really love somebody else's thoughts on, because I mean, I share with my audience my thoughts. How do you keep your motivation up during tough times, and when everything seems to be on your shoulders in a tough economy?
Yeah, that's That can be a tough one, right? And I hate, like, I feel like I'm saying all these buzzwords, and all that, like a value and relationships, and I'm going to say it again. It's mindset. And I'm not going to say I have all the answers on that, because that's an area of learning that I'm in right now. I'm really doing a lot of research on mindset, because I just find that so important. But your mindset is what's going to help you carry through those down times, because when you have a good, strong, mindset, and I was talking about it earlier, when you realize what's important, some of those small things that otherwise could shake up your whole day, you're going to really be able to put that in perspective and understand that, losing that customer, or losing that deal, or being a little bit slow on business is only a temporary issue. And you can overcome that, and you will overcome that if you have the right mindset and the right approach. So just making sure that you are really sound in understanding, what's important, and not allowing, certain things to affect you negatively, because you just have a better overall positive outlook. And I know that's easier said than done, because we are so we tend to be reactionary to what's going on around us, and it's hard to think proactively. And there's a whole book on self-talk, like negative self-talk, like we're always talking about how bad the situation is. But if you just flip the switch and say, you know what, this situation might be bad right now, but these are the couple things that I can do to turn this around, and this is what I'm going to do, then that's the mindset. That's that strength, that kind of internal strength, I guess, for lack of a better word, that's going to help carry you through those down times. And again, having the right behaviors and habits of prospecting and building your pipeline will help you carry through those slow times as well.
Yeah. A lot of companies have made millions and grown leaps and bounds in down economies. And same thing with salespeople, right? So
yeah, so,
it's there.
Yeah, and we talked about do you have to be more strategic with, like, so you're in downtime, right? And for us in the building industry, December and January, the colder months when there's snow. I'm in the exterior remodeling industry, so that time of year is slow. I don't know what your downtimes are, if you have downtimes or what, but we talk about, do you have to be more strategic with your time, or do you have to be double down and put more effort into your time? And I think we hit on it earlier. If you're doing the right things when business is slow, it's going to free up what you naturally do, which is prospects. You're already being more strategic. You're already thinking about the opportunities that you want to be with. You're already having that mentality of finding the right opportunities. When it's busier, you don't have as much time to prospect, because you do have to service your customers and do those types of things. But when that kind of slows down a little bit, that's going to raise your time that you have to prospect. So you're going to actually naturally double down, and you're going to be more strategic because you already have that built into your makeup.
Then you're going to land more customers, and it's a trifecta.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Drop the mic. Done. All right, Andy, thanks for being here, my friend. I'll let you go, because I know you've got another meeting coming up, and I really appreciate you taking this time. For all of you individuals out there watching, remember, go out there every day. Make every call an educational one, and crush your sales. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.